Yeah, I got the stash rocking today, man. I just shaved everything up because I was excited to see you guys. Had to get it going.
Mhm.
No, I had the guide. I call it the guide beard going. I had hair all the way down. You know how it is.
Hey, I got it right now.
Yeah, exactly right. Man, I was just like, dang, it's time. Taylor, my wife was starting to get annoyed of the me looking homeless type
Mhm.
look.
Well, guys, everybody knows as you come in the afternoons here and join us, go ahead and hit that hashtag 25K Crappie Connection. Had a great week last week. On Facebook, we hit the 50,000 followers. I think we're about 50,200 when I looked at it today. So thank you, everybody that's joined in. And especially if you're new watching the Crappie Connection, today's bite show on Tuesday nights, comment and let us know that this is the first time you actually watched it. I see a lot of guys already chiming in. Appreciate everybody on here. Kobe, Charles, Jonah, you guys keep on hammering
Very.
comments as usual. On YouTube side of things, we're right about 12,000 subscribers, which is great. Going well on both platforms. Cannot do it without every single one of you at home watching. So if you're watching tonight, go ahead and hit that thumbs up as well. All you YouTube folks, I see a lot of YouTube folks coming on strong tonight. Appreciate everybody coming in from YouTube. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up on your TV remote. I know a lot of people are watching on TVs as well. So I know it takes a little more effort and a little bit more effort than, say, a cell phone, but get that remote, hit that thumbs up for us for sure. Got a good show tonight. And actually, Dustin and I were talking before the show started about this subject. And, you know, a lot of times we're very blessed and we're on the water a lot and we see different fishermen and we're thinking, you know, if they would change up these little details, what they're doing. And you kind of notice people fishing beside you. And I'm not that kind of person to say, hey, man, you're not fishing deep enough or you're fishing
Yeah,
too.
exactly. Yep.
You're going this wrong. I'm not that kind of person to, interrupt somebody, but I would be glad to help them if they ask me. But we're going to kind of talk about some of the mistakes that we see fishermen are doing on the water. But besides that, I'm going to go back and talk about some of the mistakes I've done. And I'm sure even the stash has had a few mistakes.
Oh my gosh, a few ain't the
Just,
word for
just a
it.
few.
Yeah,
We'll get
way more
Taylor in
than
here.
that.
She'll clarify it.
Yeah, way more than a few.
But like I said, it's all about growing your guys and making everybody a better fisherman. And if you come across a mistake and you're thinking, you know what, I did this for so long, or I did this wrong last weekend, put it in the comments. You know, we're only as good as everybody watching and commenting. So thank you everybody for commenting every single night. And it's a great night to talk about crappie fishing because it's not been
Oh
a
yeah.
great day on weather.
Yeah, for sure. So with those mistakes you're talking about, even better than making a mistake is when you make it and you realize it and fix it and do better after it. That's when I kind of don't mind making the mistakes because it just means you're learning. That's all it means.
Absolutely. I mean,
For
it's part
sure.
of the fun of crappie fishing to me. I think if it's just, you
Yeah,
went out there every time and caught limits very
exactly.
easily, it would become so boring almost.
Yeah,
But one
that's
of
so
the
funny you
things,
say that.
go
All the
ahead.
time on all the time on the boat here, even the last couple trips ago, I had a group of guys on there, and I said we were missing a bunch of fish. They were short striking us, and a lot would come up and not eat it. And I said, "Man, if all of them bit and you caught every single one of them, it
Mhm.
wouldn't be near as fun." The guy in the back said, "Speak for yourself." I hear it. Yeah, I agree with that too.
I understand that exactly. The
Yeah.
same lines. And I think about this past, I'm going to say 14 days here, at least for me guiding, has been really challenging. And really, last Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday was probably some of the most challenging that I've had. And the main reason was the wind. You think about
Oh,
wind and how much it
oh,
can affect the month of
yes.
April for sure. I know it has to be that tough out there as well for us dealing with wind on that big
Oh,
Grand Lake.
yeah, man, it is awful. It feels like every day it's been blowing 20 mile per hour plus. Even today, it called for 10 to 12 mile per hour, and if it wasn't blowing 15, 20, I'd been surprised. And it
Yep.
was a north wind, which even makes it worse because you're always setting up in the spring for a south wind, and then when a north wind blows, it blows all my spots out. And gosh, it just yeah, one of them days for sure. But a north wind can beat me up, but all the wind is just it kills you. But I always say, welcome to springtime crappie fishing, because if you don't have wind, it's something's wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, one of the biggest mistakes I think people make and is not paying attention to the wind, and we're going to talk about that a
Oh,
little
I
bit.
was gonna say that was gonna be one of mine. I had three deals. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna try to think of some things that mess up, and the wind was one of mine, Brad. So way to really put the copycat on.
Well, I'm just getting it out there for you. How about that?
Yeah.
I'm sure we've
All right.
got some more mistakes that we can talk about.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But a lot of people ask, how do you go about when you go to a lake fishing every day? And the number one thing that I look at every single night when I'm planning on what boat ramp and everything else that I'm going to use and kind of strategizing for the next day is all about the wind forecast. And I think we've even talked about it before as far as different apps and different things that you
Oh
can
yeah.
utilize, especially nowadays. We've got so many different things that we can utilize and really tell you about wind forecast. And like I said, the last week for me, we had, man, Greg Holder and Billy from East Tennessee. They fished with me last week, and they're probably watching tonight as well on here. And they will tell you the wind was ferocious, and I'm talking 20 to, I don't know, it seemed like 150-mile-an-hour wind, but
Yeah.
a good 30, 35-mile-an-hour winds sustained throughout the day, all day long. And we had to really plan on what part of the lake I could fish and what made sense. And we capitalized on it. I mean, we had great days of fishing, but we had to even change strategies almost. And these guys come in and they said, "Hey, look, whatever you think is going to catch the most fish, whatever's going to be the most productive,
Yeah.
that's what we want to do." So I asked them about live sonar, and they was like, "Yeah, we'd like to learn more about it." Threw down the transducer on the trolling motor, went to town, started looking around, and I noticed fish, but they were traveling. And I mean, not just barely swimming.
Oh yeah.
I'm talking haul and tail,
I had
breaking
that going on
waves,
today. Yeah.
going.
Mhm.
And I'm like, all right, how can we get in front of these fish? What would be the best way to catch them today? I went back to what I know and what I've kind of been known for. We pulled jigs, long line out the back of the boat, had 8 poles out. And I think last Wednesday, like I said, almost dangerous winds. And I say that not jokingly, but those kind of
Yeah.
winds you've got to be real
Mhm.
careful even in. But we threw out the long lines and just smoked the crappie. But
Man, that's awesome.
as the day kind of progressed, I noticed one thing that I was doing, and I thought it was a mistake on my end, and I rectified it, thank goodness. But I kind of I felt like every time I was going against the wind, that wind was busting on the front of the boat, and I've got a deep V Ranger, and that wind rolling over the front of the boat was making the splash. We always talk about sound and different things when it comes to catching fish on crappie connection, but I knew that splash and noise, we wasn't catching, I'm gonna say a third of the fish if we're going with the wind. So after I was like, all right, we're not catching nowhere the amount of fish we are if we're going with the wind, so we're not gonna go against the
Wow.
wind anymore. And change, and you think long lines, I've got lines out 60, 80 feet behind the boat. It wouldn't affect them that bad, but that particular day, it was a factor that was affecting the bite. So and continue making that mistake of going against the wind, turn around and uh, roll the poles all the way up, kick the boat in gear, and slid it up to the new position or the beginning area I wanted to troll back with the wind. And then in turn, I mean, at the end of the day, we had a live well full of slabs. And,
Yeah. Sweet.
uh, you know, even another thing that I notice with people when it comes to the same long lining topic, as far as becoming better at long lining in high winds, because in the month of April, if you're going to pull jigs, even you're going to have to do a couple little things to kind of combat that wind factor. And for me, besides making big gradual turns in the wind and waves pushing you further down the lake, I've learned through the years that get to the end run or the end area you want to be pulled, reel up your poles, and actually just turn the boat right around. And if you can catch them going in the wind, just go straight in the wind instead of trying to make a turn in these big winds. But that's one of the couple little things I noticed, and I know I have some more too. But um, I'm gonna leave it over to you, dear
Hey,
Dustin.
yeah, for
To
sure.
talk about.
I'll talk. I'll jump into the wind thing. I live on, and I just seen Ken from Power Crappie. It says Power Crappie. He's on his poll page, but
Mm-hmm.
it's Windfinder or Windfinder Pro app, and
Yes.
it's a red little box. It's got like white letter in it, I believe. And that app, I live on it. March and April, I feel like, I mean, every night. I don't think I've missed a night being on. I'll go to my Windfinder and then go to my map. But Windfinder has a spot where you can hit the map and go to the lake you're fishing, and it shows the line exactly where the wind will be blowing in the lake. So it's super handy to me because I'm zooming in all over the lake to see where I can fish. And like Brad said, like get your game plan for the next day. So every night before bed for about 20 to 30 minutes, I'm looking all over where I'm going to go and how I'm going to get there. Because another thing is always looking for a boat ramp that you can get there. Because if it's as bad a winds as we've had, you can't just jump in anywhere and boat to this place because
Yeah.
if you have a long stretch of the lake that the wind is catching, you're going to go out there to that main lake and they're going to be so big of rollers. First of all, you're going to soak your clients or soak yourself, and then you're going to have a miserable back breaking boat ride to get to where you're going. So I try to work where I can put in on a boat ramp out of the wind and then try to stay in that. So I mean, when it's a super windy day, I tell the clients heads up too that like I've got one stretch and it may be 2 miles that we get a
Yeah.
fish, but once we're done with this 2 miles, that's all we get a fish today. So hopefully we get them because that's all we got. But usually, yeah, I try to pick out a space in the lake and I use that app. It shows exactly the line where the wind is blowing, and that is a game changer app for that. And
I've got it on
Ken's
my phone as well.
okay,
If you
yeah,
guys can see the red.
it's the red one. Yep, with the white triangle deal there. Yeah, that
Yep.
is the app to get for your guys' wind. I'm telling you, there's so many cool little things with that. Ken's the one that turned me on to it, and I'm glad he did. So yeah,
Yeah. I use the same app, and I've got an iPhone. I'm sure it's on every phone there is as far as
yeah, I'd
different things,
imagine.
but costs you nothing to use it. But like
Oh,
Dustin
it's
was
not.
saying, it you can determine what boat ramp and um,
Mm-hmm.
which one would be safe and what area would be safe. It'll tell you how
Yeah.
that wind actually comes across that lake.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say the number one mistake that people make is not paying attention to the wind in
Exactly.
spring.
And I've even ran into certain people too, pay attention to the wind is even going out. Like if you don't have a boat, if you have a boat, I've had to tow certain people in, and I've seen people breaking down, and in this harsh of weather, you don't want to be stuck in the middle of a lake
Mhm.
with the waves like that. And it's some guys that just, man, I didn't this was the only day I had off, didn't even check the wind, didn't have any idea it was going to be like
Yep.
this. Well, if you have a boat you take out once or twice a year that you don't really trust, then that'd be kind of scary to get out there on a big lake and have something malfunction. So keeping up with the weather is a dang good one for sure. Now I used to be like that until now I got other people with me just run and gun it. But man, yeah, now it's you can't put in a boat ramp that's catching, all the wind even. You can sink your
Yep.
boat at the boat ramp doing that. So there's a lot of things with the wind that can get you. The app, Randy, is Windfinder. It's called Windfinder. It's a little red box. It's got a fan on it. He's got
Yeah.
it right there. It shows it pretty good, that red box. But that is it.
Yeah, and another thing that I kind of noticed and been picking up on, and it goes back to even more of a traditional than I guess live sonar, and there's still a ton of people that fish without live sonar, and I still, like I said, fished really all week last week without it, but not adjusting and going back to the same set things they caught fish the last time we were on the lake.
Oh
I
yeah.
noticed a lake I was fishing, Eagle Lake, and everybody's still fishing shallow because that's how they've been catching for the last 6 weeks. And you know what? Those fish are pretty much spawned out. I'll break the news to everybody that hadn't been over there lately, but those fish are pretty much spawned out. They're going back into their pre-staging areas, but everybody comes in and I'm like, man, it's kind of weird. I seen 40 boats at the boat ramp, but I don't see anybody in the lake. And I know then it told me like everybody's fishing shallow. And uh, at the end of the day, you get to the boat ramp and everybody's like, man, they just ain't biting today. I'm like, no, they biting. Might have
Yeah.
just been in the wrong area.
Hmm.
But fishing on memories is, I guess, is the terminology I want to
Oh my
utilize
God.
is deadly or not deadly. I guess you would say empty.
Yeah.
If you fish on memories a lot, you get to
Hmm.
these lakes and you say, all right, I had a buddy tell me that he caught them here 3 days ago. In the world of crappie fishing, a 3-day old report is pretty much null and void. I mean, it gives you a little bit to start with, but not enough to really stick to all day long if it's not producing. So
For sure.
if you get out there and you get even a great fish report, Dustin calls you up and says, "Hey man, I was at Grand Lake on Monday and I smashed a 3-man limit in an hour and a half in 2 foot of water."
Yeah.
You know, and all of a sudden you get 2 inches of rain, conditions are changing, everything else.
Yeah.
Those fish are more likely gone. You know, they
Exactly.
can be gone in literally a couple hours or less even.
Mm-hmm.
But don't just fish by your memories and these fish reports. Totally, it gives you a good starting point to go to a lake and then actually investigate for yourself and then adjust from. And like I said, if it's easy, everybody would do it. Would get bored of it. It's kind of like,
Yeah, that's right. I always say too, another one would be just kind of the same thing on the memory deal, is having a one track mind when you get there, is just having your mindset of what you're doing, because the fish are doing something different. Me and a good buddy of mine, Josh, was just talking, and I told him I feel like that's why the crappie will never be in trouble, is because they always do something different every year to keep you keep you away from them. It's like we fish Grand Lake religiously. He does too, and he'll be like, "Well, they were
mm-hmm.
doing this last year, and now they're not there at all." Like, we'll go to a place we destroyed them last April and this time of year, and we'll go to that same spot, and there is not a crappie to be caught there. And it's just like, it doesn't make sense. And I'm like, I think that's why they're so good population and they're so smart, is because they keep on their toes. I don't think they're a one track, do the same thing every year type of fish, especially
You know,
not the
it's even
timing, because the
color
weather.
wise. You know,
Yeah.
you
Oh
think
yeah.
about bait colors, and I talked about, you know, this color's been really hot for me this year. It used to be a color made by Bobby Grown Baits called Bluegill Fire, which is a blue body, silver and blue sparkle in it with a hot fluorescent pink tail. That bait 4 or 5 years ago, dude, I'm telling you, I could have filled up my whole room here, my office room, completely
Hmm.
full of crappie with all the crappie that I caught on that bait. And it seemed like the last 2 years that bite on that bait has just kind of faded away on this lake.
You
I don't
taught
really
them.
know what. I don't know if I caught the ones that all like that
Yeah, I was gonna
particular
say.
color or
I
what.
was gonna say you caught all the ones that like that bait.
Maybe so.
That's
I don't know.
yeah.
Tara, I see you. I've got a hopefully. I think she says she's watching from Louisiana, so maybe a first time watcher here. So definitely appreciate you coming on. If you're a first time joiner of today's bite, so appreciate you coming on here. I'm trying to catch up with everybody down here. Chris
I hear
Horton,
that.
Chad, Randy, Jay. All right.
Okay,
Mr.
Marty
Jerry
says,
Hancock.
do y'all prefer dead sticking on the windy days or casting? I'm still able to cast to them, but just wondering y'all's take.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I guess it depends on what style. But if I'm chasing Roman fish, just post spawn right now, I would use a long rod dead sticking them. But if it was windy and it's the summertime or brush pile fish, I'd still cast to them as well. So I still do both in the wind regardless.
You know, when I think about, you know, that question, it comes back to even like last week I was saying about drop down the trolling motor, found the fish right off the bat on live sonar, but then I picked up on how fast those fish were moving. Really, I don't even think I could have casted a jig to them and got in front of them. By the time it would have failed, those fish would have been 10, 15 feet from wherever they were at that present time I cast it. But adjusting to what these fish do and how they're acting, you know, dead sticking them, if they're not moving very fast or are they sitting there just suspended, it is absolutely deadly on them. Same thing with
Oh yeah.
casting. For me, when I really go after them casting, and I can't wait till it happens. I haven't seen it yet,
Oh yeah. It's not aggressive enough here either.
but as soon as I see these fish really hardcore on structure spawning and on my breeder stumps out on the res, when they're hardcore on those breeder stumps or brush piles spawning and I can cast to them, that's going to be kind of my technique that I'm going to go to hopefully any day now. So just kind of adjusting to what you can and can't do. But, you know, for me, some of the new people watching and really starting to get into crappie fishing is look at some of these techniques that you can sit there and say, all right, it would be really tough today to dead stick them, long pole them, or cast to them with a live scope. Look at a technique like longlining and say, hey, look, I can pull them out of the back of the boat, go with the wind, smash them still. Look at techniques like casting slip bobbers to some of those shallow fish on brush and different things like that. But explore more techniques, especially if you're not that familiar with them, and really see when that technique would really shine for you. Like I said, casting and brush piles, slip bobbers, I've got some plans on doing more of that this spring when the conditions really favor it. And that's something I hadn't done a whole lot in the past, and it's probably a mistake that I've done.
Oh man.
But it's all about just keep going a little bit further on your techniques and your knowledge of doing these different things, when and where. I got a Nate question. Hey guys, he says, I've just put a 0-degree mount on my trolling motor. Was that a good thing, and why?
Was it a good thing? Absolutely, it was a good thing. Reason being for me is you don't have to play any type of degree offset at all with your bait. Wherever that arrow's looking, you put your bait and you're going to see it. So that's why I like the 0-degree offset for sure.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, and I think that's the right thing to do as well. And I think if you're just getting into live scope, I wouldn't put a 0-degree in the very beginning. I'd wait till you got really familiarized with the regular 8-degree and you're able to spot fish and pick them up a little faster. And as you get better, move on to the 0-degree. Just for the simple fact, let's say if that 8 degrees this wide and you go to a 0-degree mount, it's going to make that beam this wide then. So you're cutting down the actual width that you're seeing on your screen when you go from an 8-degree to a 0-degree. So I'd wait till I got really familiarized with what you got and then go to a 0-degree.
James, I've seen you said the water temp is 57 in Waynesboro, Tennessee. Ours is actually touching 61 to 62 now. It's starting to get real close. What's yours now, Brad? 65 probably?
All 65 yesterday, 66. And some of these fish are still in a pre-spawn pattern, even on the reservoir.
I believe it. Yeah.
We caught them yesterday. Buddy Chad Wright, we caught 3-pounder 2 weeks ago. Me and him went out and shot a little video. It's going to be really good about catching crappie in the eclipse. But, we've seen fish as shallow as 3 foot, and then it'd be fish in open water suspended 17, 18 foot deep, 20 foot deep even. So they're mixed all in the water column.
That's so crazy because they're like that here. Like I was amazed today, which we had a pretty cold rain last night, but my fish moved a lot deeper than normal. Like we've been catching them 6 to 8 foot deep, and now they're like 10 to 25. We caught some fish 23 to 25 foot deep today that I just don't understand what in the world they're thinking or doing, because where that fish is setting, that water has got to be 50. You know what I'm saying? That's got to be some cold water down there, 20 foot deep down there, that deep. So I was curious what the heck them fish were doing, but it's definitely still pre-spawn here. All the fish I cleaned today all had still good eggs in them. Now they are getting real bloody and ready. They were sticking on the table real good. You know how they getting really close, but definitely getting that time. I've seen a lot of people fishing the bank, and when they're coming by, I'll always be, you guys having any luck seeing if they're catching them on the bank yet? Because I can't wait to get on the bank, but I know it's not time yet because I'm still seeing them out there pre-spawning up. But
Jonathan, he's asking, Brad, when you longline, do you ever use planer boards when longlining? He said, crappie on his home lake seem to be spooky when a boat comes by. And will getting the spread further apart help? Absolutely, it helps. Jonathan, for me, the only downside with planer boards is on a good bite, they will work you into absolutely death, which is good and bad if you like to stay completely busy. Another thing, whenever I feel like the fish are getting boat spooked, just like I said earlier, as far as going with the wind to kind of cut down on that slap, but also use longer poles. If you're typically only using 14-foot poles out the side, get you some 20-foot B&M Pro Staff trollers. I've got 2 on the outside of the boat, and really like I said, going against the wind the other day, those were about the only poles catching because they were the furthest away from the boat on the side. So another thing, if you don't want to go to planter boards, use some longer poles on the side. But if you're into planter boards, Crappie Connection got a good sponsor, Church's Tackle, great folks. Look at theirs. I plan on doing a video with some planter boards probably in June. So I like them. They're just a lot of work because they work so good. I'm trying to catch up with comments. I'm sorry.
Oh, I lost you for a second. You froze up on me. I thought we lost you for good. I'm like, here we go again.
Oh, you're getting panicky on me.
I was. I'm like,
I got another thing that I want to announce to everybody that my buddy Tim Howell, he's been on the guest on the show several times, comes on today's bite as well. And he's doing an auction, and I already did one for a Grab You One Outfitters, which is a nonprofit. They're doing a charity for a little young man that's fighting cancer. He's doing a charity thing on there. So look up Long Branch Guide Service. And if you're interested in coming to Mississippi on a guide trip, just be a great benefit thing for you to look at. I'm very proud to be a part of them, and very proud Tim's even doing it. He donated a fishing trip and 2-night stay up in Grenada Lake for this fundraiser. So check them out. That auction actually ends tonight. He reminded me and told me about it this afternoon. So if you're interested, jump on there tonight and bid real quick. Great cause, great organization. So I didn't want to forget that.
What's the bidding up to on your trip?
Mine's already done. And
oh, yours already done. Got you.
Mine's already done. I think Tim's is up to about 1,500, and mine actually we raised a gentleman here in town, one of my clients. He got the one that I auctioned up for $2,000. So very, very.
Oh, smokes! That's awesome.
Very proud of that.
Him. Oh yeah,
very great event.
Yeah, and you better catch them all a 3-pounder.
You know, and that's most of these guys that do those benefits, they've got a big heart, and they're basically paying 3 times the amount than they normally would pay for a guide trip just to help out an organization. Awesome. So I know they really don't even care.
Oh, Chad Rogers. Ain't seen and heard from him very much lately. Chad, I'm missing you, buddy. He said storms are heading for you, Brad. He said you're getting ready to
yeah, my radar app just went off as well, so hopefully we won't get cut tonight. But I hear tornadoes there.
Hey, and
the show might get cut off.
Hey, and you are starting to cut out a little bit. That's probably that storm coming in. Is what it is.
It could be.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah, I got Justin. He said he tried some of the pecan cream and the live roamers.
Oh, here we go. Yeah. He said he tried some pecan cream, live roamers, and crappie shooters. Well, he's got some. Okay, Justin, you got to try them and give us a fishing report now. You got to let us know how they do, because I got a feeling I know how they're going to do for you.
Yeah. That's a dust dash color. I think we'll actually get with them at Bobby Garland and say, hey, look, the pecan cream's not working for as a name.
Dust dash.
We're going to call that mustache.
Yeah.
Dust dash. Yeah, dust dash. Yeah. That'll be a dust dash.
We need a dust dash. Awesome. Jigs, what we need. Well, you don't call them jig. We call them the plastics around here.
Charles Henderson, he said, what's going to happen to the res after all this rain we're supposed to get tomorrow? Predicted to go like 15 foot on the Pearl River. You know, these fish are still going to do their thing. I think it'll actually hold them from spawning. Those, my experience in the past, if you get a lot of current, it kind of delays them until that current backs down and gets more ideal for them. But I can tell you, I'll be definitely keying in on the eddy portions of the lake. I'll be going to the edges of deeper water and getting out of the main current. So current's not always a bad thing in the lake. It just may take them a day or two to get kind of adjusted to it.
You kind of like that current sometimes, seems like.
I do.
I lost the name here, but someone asked trolling motor or a separate pole mount for your transducer, which we get asked a lot on here.
Yeah.
Marty cracks me up with his answer. Of course, we got guys helping her, which is awesome, and I appreciate you guys. Mm-hmm. It's just funny. Marty says trolling motor, I promise. Yep. But that's about where I'm at. Is the trolling motor all the way for me? Now, there is a time and place you can use the side pull mount. I always say that because it is very nice to roll up to a brush pile, spot lock on it, and just set that pole on there and let the boat fight its wind or move the trolling motor around, and you have something just staying on it. So definitely a time and place for the side pull mount. Hey, if you can get both, get both. But if I had just one to do, I would do the trolling motor for sure.
Guys, y'all keep commenting too, especially new viewers. Welcome to the Crappie Connection, today's bite. Thank you, everybody, for joining in tonight. If you like what we do it every Tuesday night, 7 o'clock Central Standard Time. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn your notifications on, and we will talk to you every Tuesday night at the same time, just like we're doing tonight, about all your crappie questions. See a lot of people coming in from all over the United States. Even I see South Bend, Indiana, Texas, Iowa, Randy from Iowa here. So, man, we can help you guys. There's Kentucky Lake right here. You know, if you got questions, it kind of pertains across every body of water out there. And if you got a question about a lake you're at, post them up on here, and almost guarantee you that there's somebody watching in your area that can help you out. That's going to be pretty close.
Agreed to that. Good commercial break right there, Brad. That was good. I'll give it to you.
Was it?
Yes, it was. Brad, he said he has a Tarova. I'm not sure. Is that Tarova the one that deploys? Can you?
No, that's old Terra.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, Tarova. You know, look up Cornfield Fishing Gear. They make a special mount if you want to mount it actually on your trolling motor itself. Another really thing that's happening this week that I didn't want to forget about as well is I'll be going to Kentucky Lake on Thursday. I'll be there, should be all day Friday, all day Saturday, helping out the guys at Cornfield Fishing Gear on their demo days. So if you got a question about a boat and you live in the area, bring your boat down. We'll look at it and we'll figure out, hey, awesome. This mount would be awesome for your boat, or these, this is how you want to put your live scope on. But bring your boat down to the demo days at Cornfield Fishing Gear, and it's going to be a real fun event. I'm actually planning on doing a couple podcasts there and some different things, but would love to meet everybody at Kentucky Lake. I've never been to Kentucky Lake, so looking forward to going up there and seeing some folks that I know already. I mean, there's a ton of people coming from all over the United States as far as pro staff and such. But also, if you live in that area, I'd love to meet you guys. Make sure you come over there and say hello to me. Even if I'm busy, just even knock on the door and wave up, or, you know, I'd love to see everybody while I'm up in Kentucky Lake.
Yeah, for sure. Gosh, thank you guys so much for all the questions. Y'all just keep on asking them questions and we'll get to them. If I miss them, Brad will clean it up. But we had one that someone that just asked. Oh, it was such a good question, and I just went completely blank. So, time being, let me hang on a second here. We got several coming in, and I keep reading all of them. Oh, okay. For brake system, he's asking if he just puts one trolling motor at the back of the boat and uses one as a brake, will it pull the boat at an angle? And the answer is yes, it's going to. But I've been with one brake the last month, been using just one on one side, and you can while you're pulling yourself back, you can kind of adjust it with the front of your trolling motor. Now that's kind of a lot more boat control when you're doing that, but it definitely still helps, and you can slow your boat down. It's just not gonna be near as effective as two, but you can still do one for sure. And I have done it. I've still got it right now with one, and you can do it. It helps way better than no trolling motor. So one is better than none. I will say that for sure.
I would agree with that,
yeah.
But two's going to definitely help you pull straighter back in
Straight
line.
back. Yeah.
And if you have one that's kicked, you know, another thing I learned even about, and I have power brakes on my boat. If you have one trolling motor that's not in line, it actually starts drifting you one way or the other. So it's almost like a gun. You've got to kind of sight them in on the water to make sure you've got them turned right.
For sure. You can tell. You can tell right when you got one off a little bit for sure. And then
asking, I got a question.
Okay, here we
Scott
go.
From YouTube, he's asking what 0 degree mount is best. You know, I've just got a flat out 0 degree mount from. I've actually bought it on Amazon, but there's a lot of good ones out there as well. So just look at a couple different ones. The main thing I wanted is just to be able to stay on the trolling motor, not fall off, and not being ripped off easily. But there's a lot of good ones out there.
Yeah, I'm not even familiar with what a good 0 degree would be. I have a little homemade one from a good friend. pretty much that I stole from Ken, but I've got one on mine that works great. So
Poor kid.
I know it. Poor Ken.
I got
Yeah.
a Carolina crappie. Caught the personal best crappie this week. 2 pounds, 12
Ooh.
ounce.
Oh man,
That is
that's a
awesome.
big.
Would love to
That's
see
a
a picture of it.
monster. That's a
Post it in
monster
the
crappie.
comment. Love to see
So
it.
212, heck, that would be like what, 270, I'm not sure. That's a big one. 2 3/4 pounds. That's a big one.
Yeah, 270ish, 275ish.
Okay. That's awesome. That's a monster.
I got Midwest Outlaw. He says, Dustash, you got my brother growing a mustache, thinking he's going to catch more crappie now.
That's what I like to hear right there. Hey, I had a couple guys on the boat today with some mustaches. We were rocking and rolling, man. Them fish did not stand a chance.
Summer's got a report from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Crappie spawn is already started, but catching near grass, 2 to 4 foot of water, also open water, 15 to 20 foot deep. Big one last week was 16 1/4 inch. I wonder if it's a black crappie or a white crappie. That'd be
Ooh, good
interesting.
question. Ooh, speaking of, I got a lot of people telling me they're catching these black crappie. And I got to tell you guys, if there's bars on those crappies straight up and down this way, and they are dark black, they're still going to be a white crappie. I got to take a picture or actually, I got to take a video of explaining and putting it on my page of a black crappie and a white crappie male. Because I'm telling you, when I say they get mixed up, a buddy of mine said, I caught 12 blacks off the bank yesterday. And I'm like, you caught 12 blackfish at Grand Lake? He sends me a picture and they're all white crappie, but they're males with the
Yes.
tuxes on. I'm like, oh my gosh, you had me thinking you caught 12 straight black crappie.
Guys, I'm scrolling down through the list and seeing everybody. See 183 likes right now. Let's see if we can pop that to 200. I know if you haven't done it yet, do us a favor. Hit your thumbs up either on your TV remote if you're watching on a TV, and especially you guys, it's really easy if you're watching on a phone or a tablet.
Oh yeah. Hey, Carlos Willis is in the house. How are you, buddy? He said that Dustin, I hear Eufaula is fishing great, and it definitely is. Everybody is smashing the crappie at Eufaula right now. I mean, big numbers, and I think just really good size quality too. So we had they had a tournament here last weekend. And I think it had a pretty good turnout of just numbers and size of fish. So yeah, it's fishing great. I don't know if it's fished any better than it has now than in years and years. So pretty awesome. But too far for me. I'm just gonna stick to old Grand Lake.
Mark saying hair jigs or plastics. Mark, I can tell you, I love plastics, and one of the great reasons I love using plastic baits is just how fast that it is to change them. Don't have to sit there and retie it or anything else. Let's say, for example, I've got this bait on, and this is actually my bait color of the week, and that's live minnow. That's a slab hunter. But if I got this bait on, and you know what, I see a fish, and it turns around and leaves it and don't bite it, it literally, I'm gonna take it off and I can put another bait on so quick and drop it back down and get right back to fishing. So one of the biggest things that I love about plastics is how fast I can change them and change colors and profiles and everything else. So
Exactly.
just the very essence of being able to change a profile, change a color extremely fast, I'm gonna pick plastics day in and day out. Another quick
I agree
thing
with that.
that all Bobby Garland baits, you can look them up on lurenet.com. Got a crappie connection 15 code for you guys. Use it and gets you 15% off. Actually, I had a listener, viewer, buddy, what have you. Jerry Curtis actually texted me this afternoon a box full of Bobby Garlands that he ordered and got in today. He was like a kid in a candy shop coming home. He wanted to show his buddy all the stuff that he got, but use the discount code Crappie Connection 15, get you 15% off on LureNet. That's my thing on plastics.
Man, we have great questions coming in. And Drew, by the way, I did not make it to the Eufaula tournament. I was guiding here on Grand, so I missed you, and I'm sorry, man. But I'm gonna go back to the latest one. John Mayo had a really good point too. He said do you manually set your depth on your live scope? And that's a good one too. There's a couple people were saying they set theirs at 20, and certain times a year you can miss fish doing that because, I mean, if you're not adjusting it sometimes, because I'm always set at 20 a lot this time of year. And today, the guy in the back, I've got my screens are connected. You know how you can adjust them from the back. And he clicked me down to 30 foot just to check out the bottom or something. And it adjusted mine. I just left it. I didn't say nothing. They go to mess with the screen. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
So it goes to 30 foot. I was missing crappie 22 to 25 foot deep today that I'm like, oh my gosh. And I get so stuck on, I just never noticed I left it on 20 foot and never messed with it again. And we caught, I bet, more than 20 fish that were just under 20 foot deep that if I wouldn't have had it click down. So sometimes just adjusting that a little deeper sometimes is a good tip as well.
Yeah. You know, for me, the shallowest I'll adjust my screen is going to be 10 foot.
Yeah.
You know, 10 to 20 is really where I'm really comfortable at, anywhere between that. But if I know I'm fishing mainly, let's say 10 to 14 foot of water, I'm going to have my screen set at 15 foot. That way I can catch the fish on the bottom, then catch them up. But I always manually adjust my depth, and it's preferably going to be between the 10 foot as the shallowest I'm going to put on the screen as far as the depth it's going to read. And I'm very lucky, not like the Grand Lake and Lake Fort, Mr. Jerry Hancock fishing those deep fish.
Oh, yeah.
Very rarely I have to fish over 20 foot deep, so that's my comfort range.
All right, James Lynch has asked what size planer boards, Brad, so you can hit him with that real quick.
I'll show you some here in a minute. I've got some actually in my room here, made by Church Tackle, and like I said, I've got it on my agenda here. Postpone fish is really where I'm going to really try to target some crappie with planer boards, and even summertime pattern. But the Church Tackle, and I'll give you the model number here shortly on that. And if I don't get it during a live broadcast, I'll put it back in the comments. So just hang tight with that answer, and we'll get you taken care of.
Perfect. Yes, sir.
Floyd's asking, did anyone else to fish during the eclipse on Monday, and do you think it affects the fishing? I did fish on Monday. I didn't feel like it affected the bite at all. The biggest thing that affected our bite is we had thunderstorms rolling through, so we had to get off the lake a little earlier than. I actually got off the lake before the eclipse come through. I missed it on the water for about an hour and a half. But I got a good video that I'll be able to put out from it. Like I said, my buddy Chad Wright jumped in the boat with me Monday, and we went fishing, which I love being able to do on a day off. I get to go play fish even. But we had a great day on the lake that's going to come out here soon on video.
Man, the eclipse was super cool yesterday, by the way. We had a clear, nice, beautiful day. I don't think you could have asked for better weather. And man, when it got really dark, like when it started getting dark, those fish, which the whole day was just great. There was a lot of fish everywhere, and they all were very aggressive and eating. So I can't say that when the eclipse went darker that the bite picked up at all, because it was just great yesterday. Today was a whole 360. We had a north wind. Yesterday we had a south. But the eclipse was perfect for me. We wiped them out good, and there was fish right when we stopped and right when we left. And I was actually cleaning them at the end of kind of when it was getting back brighter. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, so you didn't think it affected them negatively?
I don't know, not negatively at all. No, I was wondering if it picked their bite up or not, but it was just so good already. I didn't really notice it. Ken said he's had an instance though. He was wanting to fish it really bad. He said he's fished the eclipse before, and they just turned on like crazy when it was going on. So I was excited to see that for sure.
Well, I had plans on fishing, like I said, and kind of looked at my radar, seen some rain coming in, and Chad, he fishes all the time as well, and was like, we've had a great morning. I don't really care to get wet, and he didn't either. So we got off the lake before we get wet. Got a question from Coastal K. He said, just started longlining crankbaits. Do you ever use a 3-way swivel, crank on bottom, swivel, and then a plastic / jig? Love the podcast. Appreciate you joining us, Coastal K. And the answer to that for me is no. If I feel like they'll bite a jig better, I'm going to just long line troll without crankbaits, and vice versa. If I feel like I can catch them more on crankbaits, I'll just stick to that. I did pull combinations back when I fished tournaments, and pulling cranks was a great tactic for that. And if I wanted to add a jig to a crankbait, and actually I can probably show you because I actually got some crankbaits in my office.
I'll be dang.
I got man, it looks like this is a crappie connection mark in here. I've got everything you can imagine as far as baits.
That's awesome. Well, see, we need to have the camera the other way.
So we can look at them. There's fishing stuff everywhere.
Oh, okay, got you. Real quick, I'm going to cover one of these questions, and I appreciate all you guys so much for all the questions. Is Truman Lake fish spawning on the bank yet? If Matthew Rogers is watching, I bet he can answer this. But if not, I would imagine we're still in a pre-spawn pattern there, as well as Grand Lake. We're not too far apart, but I'd imagine they're getting really close, and you can still catch some on the bank. But I don't think we've caught our peak yet by any means. So I think we're still another few days out, maybe a week out of a peak spawn, but it's getting real close.
I'm gonna tie this, so I have to put my readers on. So
I was gonna say, why do you have to put your glasses on?
I'm sure if everybody that's over 40 understands what I'm talking about.
That's funny. So Brad, do you think that I guess the biggest number of fish have spawned in Ross Barnett yet? Like, do you think the megas rolled in yet?
No.
So I definitely say if they haven't spawned at Barnett yet in Mississippi, they definitely haven't spawned here yet. So Truman Lake's still a week or better out.
Yeah. Eagle Lake, Oxbow Lake, some of the Oxbow Lakes, shallow lakes, I think they have. I don't have any cutters in here, so if you're a dentist, sorry about that. That's why I keep you in business.
Hey, my wife's a dental assistant. She tries killing me for that, but I have to. Yeah. I tell all my clients, don't say nothing to me biting this. My wife would kill me.
I've actually chipped the tooth before from biting too much line.
Cody said, "What fishing line y'all running? How do you feel about the braid?" Well, I know he ain't got braid that he just bit through right there, but I bet that's what is that K9 fluoro or mono or?
It depends. I use braid if I'm pulling crankbaits. I like braid a lot pulling crankbaits. But that's the only time I really like braid. And the reason I like it pulling crankbaits is if you've got an area that has any kind of trash on it, as far as grass or floating debris, when the crankbaits are running clean with braided fishing line, you'll see your pole tips just vibrating like crazy. And as soon as it picks up, it could be a crappie the same size as the crankbaits, but that pole tip will stop vibrating, or if you have a piece of grass or trash on it, it picks up that the slightest change.
Yeah, the sensitivity is really strong, it seems like.
Yeah. I'm trying to tie this up.
Hey, that's a good tidbit right there. The little vibration. Good tidbit.
Yep. That would be a pretty deal.
John Mayo asked, "Are you bringing the longlining poles to Kentucky? He'll see you Thursday."
I would love. I'm not going to bring my boat. It stays on the road enough, and like I said, I'm planning on doing some podcasts, so I am not bringing my boat up there this go around. But hey, I ain't scared to throw out some long lines in Kentucky Lake now. Don't get it twisted.
Don't get it twisted.
Don't get it twisted.
So have you fished Kentucky? Have you fished Kentucky Lake?
I have not ever.
Gotcha.
This would be a setup if I was going to use crankbaits and I wanted to pull a jig behind it. And I don't know how well I can show you on camera, but I've actually just got the line tied on the back side of the treble hook, and about 10 to 12 inches, I've got a jig tied. And that would just run directly behind the bait itself as it's being trolled. Done that in the past. It works real well. And like I said, all honesty, if I feel like they're going to bite better on crankbaits, I'm going to just pull crankbaits. And if they're going to bite better on jigs, I'm going to just pull jigs. But, it's something to be unique to try for sure.
Exactly.
And that's how I did it when I did it.
Russell said the next full moon, the last week of April, will be full-blown spawn. That's a pretty dang good assessment there. It seems like the last week of April is always a deadly week here for the spawn, but again, it's always a weather thing. It's always a time deal. It's tough to always get on perfect. Oh, somebody says Brian Reed says Kentucky Lake has been on fire the last couple weeks. Uh-oh, Brad. He may be pulling his boat.
You would have to be really on fire.
If anybody books a trip with him at Kentucky Lake, he'll meet you guys there for that show, and you guys go out on a trip. It'll make him worth his boat ride there. So Kentucky Lake guided trip.
I actually know somebody that lives on Kentucky Lake that has a boat I probably could use.
There you go. Just bring the poles.
And just bring the poles.
Yep.
I got a question here. He's Chris is asking about he's picking up a Garmin Force trolling motor tomorrow. Any install tips as far as placement? Not really far as placement goes. I will tell you, and I put a couple of Garmin Forces on. The thing is, it's not a one-man job. That joker is heavy and awkward. So my best advice for that is read the instructions really carefully, but also get you somebody to help you with lifting it and positioning it right.
Yeah, and make sure you really reinforce that booger, because I've had a lot of problems with mine. After having to take it apart, you don't realize how much torque is on those trolling motors when you're jerking your boat around. There's a lot of torque on them, so you need a lot of good bolts and adjustment, all that. If you're doing it yourself.
Did you ask? I see Brian. He's got a question.
I may have missed one, Brad. It was coming in heavy for me there, man. Just
hot and heavy, man. Hot and heavy. I love it.
Yeah.
Size different on different lakes as far as fish. Same fish mark on a lake that is, I don't know if 10 and a half or it says 1.5 fish, and a different lake, same fish is a 9-inch fish. Any thoughts? I don't know how it would be necessarily. I don't have a good answer for that one. I haven't noticed that, and maybe some of you guys that help us out with questions, and there's dozens on here watching tonight.
Oh yeah.
I haven't experienced that. Of course, I don't fish, all that many different lakes anymore. I fish about 3 different ones mainly, but I haven't noticed that myself.
Brad, you can thank me later. Mickey England said, Brad, I will meet you there Thursday morning with everything we need to longline Kentucky Lake. But Thursday morning, you're running a trip on Barnett, aren't you?
Yep, my plan. That ain't good.
My goodness.
Oh no, my phone's blowing up. Okay. So, I mean, something interrupts when I've got taken out by a tornado. That's not funny, but
yeah, no, that ain't funny.
I don't think
Hey, that
Carolina,
would be a crazy live.
That fish that they said they caught the personal best was a 277. That's all.
Man, that is so cool. Okay, Jerry said if your depth and forward range is the same size, it should be pretty close, or should look pretty close. Fair enough.
All right, I got Brian. He's asking a question about waypoints. Brian,
oh yeah,
I know you've heard enough about this. Waypoints is kind of like let me see how to express it. It's one of my favorite things about crappie fishing as well. Waypoint management. If I've got a color code waypoints as far as shallow brush piles is going to be for me a green. Deep brush pile is going to be blue. A mid-depth brush pile is going to be red. Actually, diver symbol. Gold, everybody knows. If you get on my boat and you see we're at a gold waypoint, it's one of my favorites. But yeah, I absolutely edit my waypoints, name them, color change them. And one of the reasons behind doing something like that for me is if I notice a pattern on, let's say, small stumps in mid depth for my lake, and that would be 8 to about 15 foot, and I notice they're really hanging on blue waypoints or whatever color you want to use in this scenario. If they're really hanging on this blue waypoint, I know I can look back at my map and pick out every waypoint that's very similar, because I like my waypoints all to be similar in colors as far as that color goes. So I can say, all right, I've got not only this waypoint marked in blue, but I see on my mapping that I've got 6 other waypoints that are exactly pretty much the same scenario. So it helps me cut down of thinking and going through all the different waypoints that I've got marked on my unit. And when you get them color coded, you can just say, all right, my red waypoints are what's hot, and just go run your waypoints that are red at the time. That's good. I see a thumbs up. I don't know how you did that or whoever did that, but appreciate that.
Yes. I don't know how that's coming in either.
I seen that last week.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But however you did, that's cool. Appreciate that. But waypoint management is very crucial, especially if you go to a body of water. And I'm gonna go back to the example. Forgive me, my mind's gone blank. Over at Hot Springs, what's the name of that lake? Somebody's gonna pop it up on here. When I went and fished that lake for the first Wally Marshall event, I marked about 200 and something waypoints in about 2 days, side scanning and down imaging. And I went through there even at that time and color coded my waypoints. So if I ever go back to that lake, and I've fished thousands of hours since then, but I can go back to that lake and pick up my waypoints and really say, all right, I know this is my mid depth range waypoints, reds, et cetera, and really go back to those lakes that you don't fish as often. You might say, well, that's not as crucial, but it can save you time in the long run if you go back and get to fish that body of water again. So definitely invest some time in that.
I know you would love this because I thought the same thing when Jerry just said Hamilton, aka Dead Sea. The Dead Sea. That was a tough one, wasn't it?
That was a tough one. But I learned a lot from that lake in that tournament.
Yeah, so don't ever look at my screen, Brad, or you would just completely be beside yourself because I've probably got 50,000 waypoints. They're all the same, and it's awful. But it's just like your truck's clean and mine, is so terrible but I know where stuff is. I know where stuff is. Like I know my knife's down under those 3 jackets, above those boots. Yeah, I know where it's at. But yeah,
no, you're the guy that then all of a sudden you reach in the back seat and you pull out a French fry package that you had there too.
Yes. Oh yeah, for sure. Yep. Hey, this morning I busted a coyote and a covey of quail out of there this morning.
But I think it's something that you can definitely gain in the long run if you take the time and really do waypoints. And Dustin, we will have to have a conversation about waypoints.
I know.
When this thing's over. I'm very disappointed.
I know.
That's one of my pet peeves.
I know. I know.
No.
All mine. Here, I'll give you guys the tip of mine. All mine are little cedar trees everywhere. Little cedar tree.
Oh my gosh.
And then somehow I got along on these stump emojis that I've got all over the place too. I don't know if I switched a button on accident, but there's stumps everywhere too. That's funny, guys. That's good stuff.
I got Adam. He's asking, what are some of the best places to look for pre-spawn crappie that are not on the banks yet? Fishing Lake Gunnerville, near Scottsboro. Drop-offs, creek channels, flats, or points. For me, if I'm going to a lake like that and not really familiarized with all that well, I'm going to look for some kind of drop-off and along those creek line. Look at your creeks, look at areas that it's going back for your pre-spawn fish, but follow the ledge, and you'll hear me talk about ledge back through the 200 other podcasts that I've done. You'll hear me always talk about I really believe by ledges and fishing ledges when that lake offers them. But stay on the ledge and work your way and look for structure along that, and you'll find those fish.
Yeah, for sure. Like it sounds like he maybe has history on catch them on the bank. So I would go where you catch them on the bank really good too, and then just back off that and start looking around that area. Starting there.
Yeah, I got. I'm trying to keep up with everybody as well.
Stephen Sullivan, what's going on, buddy?
Stephen Sullivan, he probably cringed when I bit that line a while ago.
Oh yeah.
Oh, James, he said he just got home. Let me see. I can't see when I click on it sometimes. All right. He just got home. Most bites were on fried shad slab hunter that came from Lure Net 15% off too. Hey, he took advantage of it. Appreciate that. Josh, Bull Shoals, still working on them, warming up, still finding wolf packs, although they seem to be smaller bunches than blackfish don't disappoint. Water is in the mid-50s in most places. Josh, I know you're going to crack them. He cracks them all the time as well.
Awesome fishing report. Ken says, if you're on a green waypoint and the fish aren't biting, Try changing the color of the Waypoint. That's good stuff.
But they just let you know
good.
don't go any more of the green waypoints.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'd be
unless you're in Dustin's boat.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you're in my boat and the green one don't work, you're in real bad trouble because that's all we got. Goodness.
I'm gonna get in your boat. We'll fix that. It's easy
All
to
right.
do, Dustin.
Scott Malone, some of my Grand Lake friends here. He said late to the party, but the wife and him caught two limits yesterday. Shooting docks. Sorry, just skipped on me yesterday. Then went shallow and caught and released a few males on the bank before dark. So their males are starting to move up. Sounds like. Scott, is it heavy action or just catching some here and there?
Guys, I don't know, but I was joking a little bit ago about the sirens going off, but they're actually going off at my house now.
Holy smoke!
So I'm gonna have to kind of cut it short.
Oh boy!
I'm literally telling the truth.
Yeah, you better get after it, buddy. I appreciate y'all. We'll see you next Tuesday, 7 o'clock. Y'all.
That's right. If you're up at Kentucky Lake, come see me. But I gotta figure out what's going on with the weather. So everybody stay safe tonight. We got a lot of storms coming through, not only tonight, but also tomorrow. If you're in the south, it's gonna be hot and heavy. Stay weather aware. Till next week, Brad Chapel, Dustin.
Y'all holla.
And I'm getting ready to take cover.